5 o'clock, a fleeting hour where time felt suspended, an ordinary moment in the day that became extraordinary to me. This is not a love story that lasted forever. It's a collection of fragments, memories, voices, laughter, silence. A story told through the rituals we built, the ones I once thought would never end. 5 o'clock became my anchor, my rhythm, my quiet happiness, and though it has ended, I carry it still, because sometimes the shortest moments leave the deepest marks. Welcome to 5 o'clock. It always began at 5 on the clock, when the world was still caught between night and day, and I was waiting, heart restless, hands holding on to the glow of my phone. Then your voice, low, steady, carrying the soft hum of the road behind you. Sometimes you'd fall quiet, lost in thought. Sometimes you'd speak, and I'd smile at how ordinary your words were, yet how much they meant to me. A cup of coffee, please. So simple. A line meant for someone else overheard by me, but it became my favorite sound. Proof that I was there in your mornings, even from a distance. That hour was ours, an hour where the world shrank to just two voices connected by a fragile line, where silence didn't feel empty, but safe, where I could almost believe I was sitting beside you, watching the sunrise through your car window. 5 o'clock wasn't just a time, it was a ritual, a secret world, a memory I would never trade. The world was still half asleep when I pressed play, my eyes heavy, my body begging to rest, but my heart refused, because at 5 o'clock I knew I'd hear you. Your voice floated through the static, familiar yet new each time. You didn't speak much, just little fragments between the songs, but I clung to every word like it was a secret meant for me. And then there were the rare moments when someone would nudge you to sing, just a line, just a glimpse. I'd hold my breath, memorizing the sound, raw, imperfect, and polished. To anyone else, it might have been nothing. To me, it was everything. I woke up early every morning just to be there, just to hear you, just to let you exist in my world, even if you never noticed me. The room was quiet, the sky still dark, yet with your voice filling the silence, it felt like morning had already arrived. 5 o'clock became my favorite hour, not because of the songs you played, but because it was the time I got to find you in the airwaves and feel, if only for a moment, like I was part of your world. 5 o'clock wasn't always about words. Sometimes it was the silences, the pauses, where I could feel your presence even when you said nothing at all. You never shared much about yourself, You held your world close, guarded, yet somehow, in the quiet, you taught me things I didn't expect. Choose happiness, you'd say, almost casually. But I believed you, because happiness seemed to follow wherever your voice went. You weren't extravagant, you weren't loud, but you noticed. You cared in ways I didn't know how to name, telling me to sleep on time, asking if I'd eaten, reminding me to take care of myself, even as I stayed awake waiting for your calls. You teased me often, playful, making me laugh when I least expected it. And still, in between the jokes, you asked about my day like it mattered, like I mattered. It didn't matter that the years between us stretched wide. What mattered was how, in those moments, the distance and the age and the silence all disappeared. 5 o'clock became the hour I learned what quiet care felt like. Not loud, not obvious, but steady, gentle, and unforgettable. 5 o'clock changed. What was once soft and certain began to fracture into something I could no longer recognize. The quiet that once comforted me grew sharp, heavy, filled with words left unsaid and meanings I couldn't touch. The quarrels weren't loud. They slipped in like shadows, misunderstandings that lingered longer than they should, and I began to wonder, what was it you were truly protecting? My heart or your pride? My feelings or your reputation? I cared loudly, desperately. I reminded you to drive safely, to rest, to take care, but you hated it, called it trauma, as though my concern was a burden you didn't want to carry. You said you weren't a kid anymore, that my care felt like a mother's nagging, and suddenly what I thought was love began to feel like weight. It was like watching the tide turn before my eyes, waves pulling back, revealing the storm that was always waiting beneath. I wasn't ready, not for the silence that grew colder, not for the distance that widened, not for the way you made me feel less than myself. 5 o'clock was no longer a ritual. It was the hour I began to lose you. 5 o'clock was the hour it all came crashing down. The truth I never imagined I would discover stood before me, sharp and undeniable. I asked you again and again if it was real, if the whispers, the shadows, the cracks I felt in my chest were more than just my imagination. But you never admitted it. Not once. Instead, you turned it on me, blaming me for the storm you created, accusing me of faults that were never mine to carry. You never apologized. You never confessed. Even when the truth stood loud between us, clung to your silence, to your lies, leaving me with nothing but the weight of betrayal. In the end, I wasn't the love you cherished. I was a fool you played with, another name on a list of many. My sincerity, my devotion, my quiet care, all met with deception, all shattered in a single cut. And yet, as the ache tore through me, I found relief. Relief that it ended. Relief that I no longer had to wait for a love that was never real. 5 o'clock would never be ours again. But for the first time, I was glad, because the hour that once held me captive finally set me free. 5 o'clock is no longer ours. The calls have ended. The music has faded. The silence remains. But I choose to remember it, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. For once, I knew what it felt like to wait for someone's voice, to rise before dawn just to feel close even across a distance, to find joy in the smallest fragments, a simple hello, a line of a song, the hum of a car, a cup of coffee ordered on the other room. It was fleeting, it was fragile, but it was real to me. And though you may never know how deeply I cherish it, 5 o'clock will always remain, not as the time I lost you, but as the hour I found happiness, however brief. This is the memory I carry. This is the story of 5 o'clock.